Hello and welcome to the Frontrunner Motorsport Azerbaijan Grand Prix review. The race from Baku finished a couple of hours ago and I now have time to make a video and talk about it. And just what a disaster for Ferrari. Again, Charles Leclerc really looked in control of this race, and for the second time this year, he's, for no fault of his own, he has not won this race, and he should have won more races by now. Carlos Sainz as well, driving really well this year, and he's just had the worst luck. And with Ferrari out of the picture, Max Verstappen took a win. He's got a decent lead in the championship now, with his teammate Sergio Perez finishing second in the race and now second in the championship. Red Bull looked like they'd had a disaster of a start to the season in Australia. Where did we start the season? Was it Bahrain? Both cars out of the points. Real big trouble. Now they've cleared Ferrari quite happily. Max Verstappen's taken his 5th win of the year, and it's starting to look like this championship might come down to a fight between Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, and that's kind of interesting. I mean, I can't imagine Sergio Perez in a title fight, which of course it's never happened before, and this is what, his 12th season in Formula 1. So, and he's got his extension as well, so we'll see him for another couple of years, which I'm surprised about. I think that's going to really hurt the career of Pierre Gasly, because he ain't getting a top driver of Red Bull now. He never will. I can't imagine him sticking around for another 2 years. And with Ferrari, I think they've tied up their drivers for the next couple of years as well. George Russell will be at Mercedes for the next couple of years. Maybe that other Mercedes seat will open up for Gasly, but I guess that depends on Sir Hamilton. It'd be a shame to lose Pierre Gasly from Formula 1 just because there is not a top race seat for him. I don't know how long he would stick it out at AlphaTauri, but he's been there a while now. He's done everything he can to impress. This was another good race for him as well. The same goes for Yuki Tsunoda. He's got a bit more time on his side, he's a bit younger, and he has improved as well. He was doing really well in this race until an issue with his rear ring dropped him down the field. But AlphaTauri have 2 good drivers who are stuck there because they're not going to have a seat for the next couple of years at Red Bull, and there aren't that many options left on the grid, especially at the top end. Mercedes had issues all weekend, and honestly this was probably the best result they could have asked for. With no Ferraris finishing above them, George Russell got on the podium again, with Hamilton behind him again. Hamilton is something like 90 points off Verstappen already, which, that's 4 races. So the time frame for Mercedes to catch up with the top of the field and challenge for the championship is going to be getting slimmer every week, especially as the Red Bull is also being developed and getting faster all the time. Mercedes aren't going to be up there. They might be challenging for wins by the end of the year, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hamilton took a couple, but they're not going to win the championship this year. They're not going to win the Constructors this year, which is what, the first time in 9 years? A decade nearly? That really shows, A, how dominant they have been, and B, how quickly your fortunes can swing around. The porpoising on their cars looked terrible this weekend, and Hamilton was saying it was hurting his back. I believe him. That looked awful. And I guess there are going to be questions about whether that's safe or not. I guess we've dropped the whole jewellery thing though. Hamilton didn't get his race ban in Monaco. He's been allowed to race in Azerbaijan. I don't know if he's actually taken his jewellery off, or they've just, stopped talking about it. But it hasn't really been making the news. I mean, if he still has it in, then I guess he's won. But I don't actually know if he took it out or not. I haven't heard anything about it, which is surprising because in the run-up to Monaco, every article was about Lewis Hamilton and his jewellery. So as for the rest of the field, Sebastian Vettel did a very good job for Aston Martin in 6th. He did have a moment, but he recovered very well, and again, just like last year, he did a great job at this track last year. He's done a great job at this track this year. Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon both scored points. Alonso in 7th, doing a decent enough job. Ocon just scraping in. Probably should have done better, really, but it's still not a bad result for Alpine, getting both cars in the points. Who was 8th? Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. Ricciardo really needed a good result. And I'd argue 8th is not an amazing result, but considering what his season's been like, and he beat Lando Norris, he'll take it. But the pressure is still on, and I don't think they'll get rid of him mid-season, but I don't see Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren in 2023. I think whatever happens, they'll replace him. I think he's too old for a start. He really hasn't got the motivation anymore. I think being threatened with the sack maybe pushed him on a bit in this race, but I'm still not entirely sure of his future. As for the rest of the field, and I'm going to have to try and remember who we've left out now. As I said, Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda have done. Yuki Tsunoda did a good job, just didn't get the result. Stroll had a bad weekend, crashed in qualifying. In fact, crashed twice in qualifying. Barely featured in this race. In fact, he retired towards the end. That's the other Aston Martin. Who else was in this race? My memory is terrible. Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou, or Zhou Guan Yu. I still don't know which way around that is. Zhou did a really good job. He was running up in the points at one point, then had to retire. In fact, the Ferrari-powered cars all had a terrible weekend. There was no Ferrari-powered cars who actually scored points at Azerbaijan, which is a very, very bad sign. And really, that was like a couple of years ago where that was every race, but now they've all been running well. Haas, Alfa Romeo, and Ferrari. They've all been, well, I say decent point scorers, but Guan Yu Zhou and Mick Schumacher haven't really been scoring points. I know Guan Yu's got 1. But Bottas, Magnussen, and Sainz and Leclerc have been running well. No Ferrari is in the points is terrible. And yeah, Zhou Guan Yu was running well. He's been ahead of Bottas all weekend, or at least since qualifying. And if he hadn't broken down, he probably would have scored points. I think he was only just behind Vettel, so he would have scored decent points. I think about 7th or 8th. Didn't happen for him. Bottas hasn't really looked quick all weekend, and he didn't get into the points. He finished 11th, so bad weekend for Alfa Romeo. Haas as well. Magnussen broke down. Mick Schumacher barely had any part to play in this race. In fact, I think he finished 14th, but only because so many other cars broke down. Who else is there? Williams, Alexander Albon, decent enough job outside the points in 12th. Latifi, I mean, he actually finished this one, but he was well last. And I don't think we ever saw him unless he was getting lapped. It's not going well for him. He's another driver definitely in threat of getting sacked. In fact, I think he's the one driver that will be replaced mid-season. It's not going great for him. I think everyone else, Stroll retired as well. Mick Schumacher finished, but yeah. I think there was a lot of people who could have done better this weekend. There's a lot of people who needed to do better. I think the real winners this weekend really were Red Bull and Mercedes, just because obviously this is a big points haul over there, title rivals Ferrari for Red Bull. And Mercedes, with all their issues, just finishing 3rd and 4th is a good result for them. Everyone else, Gasly did a fantastic job. I would have to say Gasly might be my driver of the race. And for the ones who are really struggling, like Latifi, Mick Schumacher, Daniel Ricciardo, the ones that you read constantly this week that they might be getting a sack. I think Ricciardo did okay, but they all need to do better if they want to keep their jobs. And the only one, I think Yuki Tsunoda might be in that group as well, to be honest. He hasn't really impressed. He has the odd moment. Every time you think Yuki Tsunoda is doing a really, really bad job, he'll just put in a really fantastic drive and you forget about it for a while. And then 3 or 4 races go by and he hasn't really done anything again. And then he has another good race. He did have a good race today, even if he didn't get anything out of it. But I do think he needs to do better as well. So now I talked about the drivers, let's just talk about the race in general, because we've been doing this more often recently, where we talk about the tracks and stuff. I actually do like the Baku track. It is interesting to look at. It has a castle. That does help. I think that's what Miami is missing. Is not just a castle, but it's kind of cool that the cars go past the castle. So it's something, and it's a street circuit. It should stand out. And I think the Baku track is a little bit different. Still not great for overtaking, although I'm just starting to think that the Formula 1 regulations are just not great for overtaking. It does at least have one big straight with a corner at the end of it where people can overtake. And we did see a bit here and there. One of the better races this year, but it still wasn't amazing. It's a 6-7 out of 10 race in terms of entertainment value. But I fairly enjoyed it actually. It was okay. And I do like the Baku track. But I mean, compared to Monaco, the racing was more exciting than Monaco was. The track is slightly more adapted to modern cars. So yeah, Azerbaijan is fine. Next week I think we go to Canada, Vancouver, the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, whatever you want to call it. That's always a good Grand Prix. I'm really looking forward to watching the Canadian Grand Prix next week. So, leave your thoughts in the comments below. What did you make of Ferrari's demise at this race? Did you enjoy watching it? Leave whatever you want in the comments below. Remember to subscribe. We are getting very close to 600 now, and it'd be nice to hit that milestone as quickly as possible. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.